In this video, we will briefly explore the repertory grid technique. Alongside personal construct psychology, George Kelly developed the repertory grid technique. The purpose of the technique is to facilitate a structured conversation between an interviewer and interviewee, or researcher and participant, and enable them to explore the person's construing of the world. In contrast to other data collection approaches such as questionnaires, the repertory grid provides a systematic and formal method to elicit an individual's constructs in a personally valid way. The repertory grid also enables individuals to reflect on their own construing. The first step of using the repertory grid technique involves selecting a topic for the conversation. This is often determined by the interviewer. Following this, the elements of the grid are selected, and elements can include people, events, objects, or ideas related to the topic. The elements may be chosen by the interviewer or interviewee. Kelly suggests using elements consisting of role titles, including a person I admire, a person who makes me anxious, a person who has influenced me, or a person I dislike. The next stage of using a repertory grid involves eliciting constructs. This is typically completed using the triadic elicitation method, which will be explained in a few moments. Once the constructs are elicited, a matrix is created with elements in columns and constructs in rows. In a repertory grid, each construct is treated as a scale, and each element is rated based on a scale which typically ranges from 1 to 7. Finally, once the grid is completed and all the elements have been rated, the data can be analysed. Before taking a look at an example of a repertory grid, it may be helpful to explain how constructs can be elicited using the triadic elicitation method. Elements are written on numbered cards from example 1 to 6. Then the interviewee is given 3 cards and asked to think about how 2 of them are similar to each other and different from the third. For example, in the example on the screen, the person has been given 3 cards: brother, mother, and granny. The person has to think about how 2 of these people are the same and different from the third person. So the person might say, my mother and granny are both thoughtful. If the interviewee does not automatically give the opposite of the similarity, the following question can be asked to elicit the contrast pole. How would you describe someone who isn't thoughtful? Or what is the contrast to thoughtful? The person might suggest that a person who is not thoughtful is inconsiderate. It is important to remember that a construct is bipolar. It has 2 ends. The emergent pole of a construct is the construct that emerges in the conversation, so thoughtful in this case, and the opposite forms the contrast pole, inconsiderate. We will now take a look at an example of a repertory grid. The topic for exploration is friendship. So in this case, the interviewer asks the interviewee to pick 6 people in their friend group, and the names of the 6 people are written on numbered cards. The triadic elicitation method is completed to elicit the constructs. The repertory grid is completed using the elements and constructs. The elements form the columns and the constructs create the rows. For each construct, the emergent pole is written on the left and the contrast pole is written on the right. And then using a scale of 1 to 7, the individual rates each element based on each construct, as demonstrated on the screen. Once the grid is completed, it can be analysed in different ways. Computer software programs are often used to statistically analyse the data. Factor analysis may be used to explore the ratings. It's important to consider the interview process and not just the end product. The following questions might be helpful starting points. How did the individual respond to the selection of elements? Which constructs required the most thought? How did the interviewee find the rating process? Or what type of constructs were elicited? Finally, more information about the repertory grid technique can be found in the following books.